Maribor there at the bottom. That draw took them absolutely nowhere. Sevilla, though, advanced to the round of 16 in second place of Group E with their 9 points, while Liverpool top it with quite some goal difference there. Stevie Nicol, let's go to you first. You said you were just about to get satisfied with 6 goals. Your team, of course, overachieved 7 goals. How impressed are you really?
I'm not sure whether I'm impressed with Liverpool or disgusted at the way Spartak went about trying to defend. I mean, from the first goal, this game was absolutely done and dusted. Men against boys, all the cliches you want to throw on. But you've got to be happy. You know, Liverpool should have had this group tied up before today, but certainly after today, they've shown that they've done it emphatically.
Spartak Moscow, what they did was they watched a video. They had a video analysis session of Liverpool's second-half performance in Sevilla, defending, and said, the coach said, this is what I want you to do at Anfield. I want you to capitulate. I want you to defend individually. I want you to be a shambles.
Self-destruct.
I just want you to go out there and embarrass yourself in the Europe's elite competition, and that's what they did. They couldn't handle Liverpool, who were excellent going forward. I mean, if Firmino, Mane and Salah can really hit it off, it's going to take a hell of a pressure off the back line, which we know is creaking. So it's great from Liverpool going forward. They're fabulous to watch, but Spartak Moscow, on that performance, were nothing short of an embarrassment to this competition.
Without question, Spartak Moscow were a joke, particularly on the day. But I think we need to focus on Liverpool here, who I thought was simply outstanding, especially after what happened in match day 5, to respond the way that they did, some of the football that they did. Every time Liverpool keeps a clean sheet, it's worth celebrating as well, carry us back in goals for the Champions League. I think credit to them for the way they bounced back.
Looking at Group H of the Champions League, this is Tottenham's group that they have topped, and they did it in style, beating Apoel 3-0 today. Real Madrid also were in this group. We thought that they would be flying, but they have to settle for second spot. They went through beating Dortmund 3-2 today. Dortmund, I guess we could call them the story of this group as well. Shocking. They go into the Europa League.
Just.
That's just true. Very just.
Sneaking past Apoel, but Tottenham have had an excellent Champions League after a strong start to the season domestically. Then they sort of tail off and they're way off the chasing pack now. But in terms of the Champions League, to top the group with Real Madrid, even though Real Madrid haven't a great start to the season, they should still be stronger than Spurs. So to be competitive as they've been is absolutely great news for their fans. And let's be honest, their manager needs it as well, because he's been lauded by a lot of people, but he's yet to really deliver anything other than some good performances. But we talked about it after yesterday's match day 6, and finishing top of the group for them could be a real bane, because when this draw happens, whenever it is, in a couple of weeks' time, it could be, or whenever it is, it could be a horrendous draw for Spurs having won the group. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. But I mean,
play your way into a wall.
You could get Juventus, they could get Barcelona, they could get Bayern Munich. The list goes on. Can't play anybody from their own country at this stage, but could get one of the other real big European boys.
I mean, it's not going to be nice. You know, potentially it could be terrible for Spurs, but I still think you prefer to finish top of the group than finish second. I think when you're a team like Real Madrid, it doesn't matter, or it doesn't bother you as much, especially when you saw what they did last year and finished in second to Dortmund, of all people. And you're right to say that this is the story. Here's a Dortmund team who topped the group 12 months ago, and now 2 points in the groups of the Champions League. This Dortmund side, Peter Bosz is lucky to still be in a job at this point. I'm not sure how long that's going to last, but they need change, because this is as poor a Dortmund performance domestically and in Europe than we've seen for some time. We've come to expect more from them.
Stevie, who do you want to weigh off on, Spurs or Dortmund?
Spurs, I think if you're Pochettino, you sell this as, look, we've won our group in the Champions League. That's all we can do. And regardless of who we get, nobody wants to play us. That's the way he has to sell it to his players, that nobody wants to play them. Not, oh, we don't want this team, or we don't want that team. You've got to be positive.
One of the problems he's got, it's not a problem. One of the issues, I think, in his rhetoric, when the League Cup and all that was on, and he says, he was quoted, I believe, as saying, we're not really interested in winning these, the FA Cup. But he called the FA Cup a minnows competition. We're not really, or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. Whatever rhetoric he used was basically saying the Premier League and the Champions League is where we are. Well, we know they're not going to win the Premier League, right? And I'm almost certain they're not going to win the Champions League, although they've topped the group. So it's his rhetoric in saying, I'm being dismissive of the other competitions because we're aiming for higher, but just how high can they actually go?
I guess that remains to be the question. Gab, what about you? What do you make of how this group turned out?
Well, I love the fact that Pochettino's aiming high, and then, you know, if he comes up short, then people can criticize him. But he's right. Previous Spurs managers have won the League Cup and the FA Cup and some such nonsense, and it didn't do them a whole lot of good. So I think he's being consistent there. As for Peter Bosz, look, I've been critical about him all season long, but I have to concede, he has made history. Never before in the history of the Champions League has a team qualified for the Europa League with 2 points. So bravo, Peter Bosz, you've done it.
So is that enough to save his job, Gab?
Minimalist.
So he's a trendsetter.
He's breaking his own
records
record.
here.
When he goes in front of the Borussia Dortmund board, he can go up there and he can lay that out and say, here's the reason I should be in this job for next year. Because nobody's ever taken us into Europa League with 2 points. What a great argument.
Welcome into the only segment that gets Craig Burley excited, Extra Time.
That's all.
Gab Marcotti is also with us.
You try to tell my boss, who might be listening to this, and I'm under pressure, I could be under pressure here, that I'm not getting excited for the other segments. That would try to tell me.
I mean, your face usually tells us.
Well, it's usually the highlights. I'm not a big fan of just multiple highlights. I am top.
When did you see him excited about?
Look, he's smiling.
It's the highlights. It's
Clearly
when you see
was.
all these highlights rolling in. It's a bit boring.
He doesn't like
I'm not a
highlights.
highlights. I'm not like a multiple highlights kind of guy. That's the reason I don't do
Push back,
Sunday
get to
nights.
the point.
That's why I don't do Sunday nights, and I think the lads are particularly happy with that. That's the feeling. That's the feeling that I get.
It's a bit smoother
I
to
didn't
work
know
on
you this
Sunday.
all pent up. This is the first time I'm
I
hearing
know.
Well,
this.
I feel left out.
This is our safe place. You see, Extra
tried
Time
to-
is our safe place. Craig can vent his frustration.
Well, I can vent it in the show when I'm not showing all these bloody highlights.
All right, well, let's
Sunday
take
night
some
I keep
questions.
trying to come in, and Moreno, Hislop, Nico, and Thomas are all keep him away.
Wait, did
What?
you say
I mean, that's
keep trying to
that's
come in?
true.
Did you just say keep trying to
You
come in?
keep trying to come in on
Keep
a
trying to come
Sunday.
in?
Yeah. Keep trying to come in. My boss says
Yeah.
no. The boys all say they don't want me. What can I do?
This is the Craig Burley segment.
Stay at
I
home.
feel
All
like,
right.
I do feel left out. I don't even feel part
You
of
feel
it.
better now
I
that
don't
you
even
can
feel part of FC.
All right, let's go to
your name?
Ashton's question.
John.
What?
John.
That's why I'm in the corner here as well.
I'm in
I mean,
the
if I
corner
get any
as well.
further, let me over there behind the camera.
I'll be behind that camera.
Johnny, come in and fill in for me. That's Johnny's over there. Look.
Hey, make it some
All
more-
right, can we
make
get
some
to
more sense,
Ashton's
Johnny boy.
question? Can we get to Ashton's
Johnny's
question?
giving me that look. It's saying, get on with it.
I know.
I'm bored and I want to go
He
home.
is. He wants to go home. So does Craig, who usually uses extra time to vent that frustration. Ashton wants to know, Stevie Nicol, call me optimistic, but I think Liverpool can win the Champions League. Knockouts should favour how we, Liverpool, play.
Mr. Optimistic, I've just got to tell you, I think you've overshot the runway somewhat. Listen,
They tried to make it work.
go forward, as we know, they're as good to watch and they score as many goals as anybody else. But unfortunately, defensively, you know that eventually it's going to cave in somewhere down the line.
I bet you
And
can't
that-
pronounce his name.
Hashim Kaklari.
Oh, that surprised me there.
Wow. He can pronounce facetious
Better known
and
as
Kaklari.
Mr.
He can
Optimistic.
pronounce facetious.
He can't
but he
spell
hasn't
it.
got a clue what it means.
What was that you said there?
I don't know, I got it wrong.
Let's move on now.
I may have threw a letter in the
You
book.
did that.
This one's coming from Josh Houghton. He says, does City's loss to Shakhtar remove the pressure of their unbeaten
Josh
run
Houghton? Oh,
or
Houghton, sorry.
Houghton, or shake their confidence going into the Manchester derby on Sunday?
Change team.
Don't read too much into it.
Well, already qualified, multiple changes, away from home.
They're not
not,
bothered.
not
I'm going to bet Josh is a Manchester United fan.
I'll tell you what though,
Why are you looking at me, Shaka?
Look over
Well,
there.
you read the question, so you're
Well, you can
the
talk to Josh on that
you're the
camera.
go-between.
I'll tell you what though, Shaq, right? I was surprised that he played Edison in goal.
Yes.
And actually, the way he played today is probably the worst game he's had since he came to City.
Probably.
So if there was any sort of negativity at all, or any any chance that anything that happened in this game could affect City, maybe just a little chip away at the goalie's confidence.
He's probably thinking
Checking
that as well,
that
though. He was
not
probably standing there
defending
thinking, what am I doing out here?
No, the
He
last,
was probably wondering why
Listen.
he didn't get a break.
the last
Yeah.
time he come flying out like that, he caught for a badding.
That's
True.
true.
Raheem
Can you
Sterling.
explain? Cop for a bad.
Caught for a badding. He got clattered by Raheem Sterling the
Not
last time.
Raheem
he
Right,
came
can you...
Sorry, by Sadio Mane, by Giorgio Ronaldo, by Adam Lallana. But who the hell was it? Mane.
All right, well, let's
By
take
Mane.
Ryan's question. This one will go out to Gab because we know Gab loves him a bit of potch. Why on earth, Gab, can Tottenham get 16 points out of a possible 18 in a group with Real Madrid and Dortmund, but can't even beat West Brom?
They can get 16 points in that group because Apoel and Borussia Dortmund are frankly terrible, and probably look, Apoel probably worse than West Brom, and Borussia Dortmund, as long as Peter Bosz is around, then it's a different story. And look, against Real Madrid, they played really well. I think we sometimes spend a little bit too much time thinking about how these two competitions are a little bit different. I mean, I still think I'm still on the Poch bandwagon from now. You can all laugh at me later, but I still think this is a team moving. There you go. Some layup.
Well, you asked for
Gab,
it.
don't
You
ask
didn't say
for
laugh
it.
at me.
Gab, I'll
Don't
tell you what.
ask for it.
Gab, did you go to college? You must have. Did you go to college? And was you given lessons in how to pull a different face every time the camera cuts to you? Because it's absolutely magic.
Well, in fact, do you know? I went to the same university as the current president of the United States. So
Okay, that's not-
yes, it's a
No,
skill
but-
that we're taught.
It's a
Better leave
marvellous-
that.
It's a different one.
Stevie Nichols.
No,
getting on
congratulations,
my
well done.
water.
Yeah.
On that note, we should move on to the next question.
Quick.
I have
This
no
was
idea.
com-
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Ooh,
no idea.
Oh dear, it's getting hot in here. Let's move on to Sam's question now. He wants to know what's your wish list for round
Hey,
of 16 draws?
3 questions. And out. 3 and out.
No, because our producer says 4. And
No,
she's
the
the
producer.
boss. I'm not, but I'm following instructions. Let's go to Sam's and let's bring
I'll
up
look over here.
the
That's where the
pots
screen is.
for the Champions League. Now we're looking at both of them there. Who is your dream matchup, Steve, for the round of 16? Somebody.
Liverpool get Basel.
What? You're just trying to get easy ways.
I've been
Man
dreaming,
United,
been
Real
dreaming
Madrid.
about it since they got through.
Man United, Real Madrid.
Hey, Basel caused problems to United in the past, and again,
I always have trouble with Basel.
there you go. Be careful what you wish for,
Uh,
Stephen.
Barcelona versus Chelsea.
Man City,
Oh.
Bayern Munich, Pep Bowl.
Pep Bowl.
Roma, because I hope they get knocked out soon. For no other reason than Dan Thomas, I want to get. It's a long story. Long story. I haven't got time
Long
to
story.
explain.
Well,
So
let's,
that draw, I quite like the draw the way. I don't know what everybody.
let's get Gab. Gab, what would one or two of your dream matchups?
Right.
Quite like the draw. What are you talking about?
Give me a face, Gab.
That's not the draw.
Come on, Gab, give us a face and tell
I'm
us.
with Shaka. I want
I
the
like
Pep
that.
Bowl. I want Heinkes against Guardiola. I want City against Bayern. Just in terms of storylines, star power, all that.
The draw. What do you mean? The draw is going to be the draw. That's what you know what I meant. But the draw. That's,
Really? Do we ever really know what Craig means?
sorry.
Even if I
Anyways,
did,
make
you
sure to
didn't
tune
it?
in. Craig Burley's here with me. He's a perfect person to talk some Chelsea matters with, whether he likes to or not. Craig, we're talking about Frank Lampard's comments on Timoe Bakayoko. He says that he falls asleep during games, basically because one of his sleepy moments led to one of the goals that Atletico Madrid scored, or the goal that Atletico Madrid scored in the Champions League. He says he doesn't know what to make of this player yet, and he thinks that Drinkwater could come in and take his spot. What do you think?
Drinkwater has taken his spot
Permanently, you think
recently
so?
in some in at least one league game I can remember, maybe more. I don't know. But let's be frank here. Bakayoko's a better player than Danny Drinkwater, right? Potentially, or is, and can be, and should be, right? As much as Danny Drinkwater did great at Leicester City, he come in, he's tidy, he's aggressive, but he's not. You know, he can't get around the pitch like Bakayoko.
So what's Lampard saying?
Hasn't got that strength. Well, Lampard's
Or
saying
not
the same
saying.
thing that Conte's saying, and he's saying the same thing that Didier Deschamps is saying, because he was left out of the French squad recently, and he had a right moan up about it. Steven Nzonzi was in from Sevilla, and one or two other players, and he says, I should be in this team, I should be. That's fine. There's a World Cup year coming up, but he really has to get himself together at Chelsea, right? And he hasn't played to the standard that he was in that very good Monaco team that got him the move to Chelsea. That's fact. There's a hell of a lot more to come from him. There's probably not many stronger that getting box to box around the field. But the attitude's got to be right. He's got to be better in the final third. And it all comes down to the mental side of the game for me. And
so who steps in then? The manager to sort of bring down that ego and say, hey, you're on equal terms as the rest of them?
I don't know what the issue is short term, and I think it is only short term. Because I don't know the player. He's in London now. It's the big lights, it's the bright lights, it's the lifestyle, it's the pressure. Not Monaco with a paltry crowd, never a full stadium. It's Stamford Bridge. It's a full house. It's Liverpool and it's Man City and it's Arsenal and United all coming there. And it's pressure. It's not, you're not away to some horrendous League One side at the bottom of the league and nobody's bothered. Even when you go away from home, you're under pressure. So you've got to live with that. And Frank Lampard knows all about it, to be fair to Frank. When he came in from West Ham, he wasn't exactly a signing that got Chelsea fans jumping out of their chairs. Well, why are we signing Lampard? What's he going to do for us? And he proved them wrong. So that's up to Bakayoko now. Is he good enough to do it and got all the facets to do it? Absolutely. Is he doing it at the moment? No. And that's why he wasn't in the French squad.
All right, thanks so much to Craig Burley. So top player, that is indeed what Bakayoko is. He's just got to put his head down and get to work. PSG look deadly in attack. They've been breaking scoring records in the Champions League, but a certain Thomas Muller from Bayern Munich isn't believing the hype, Craig. He says, yeah, PSG are good, but they're not that good, and everyone should really slow their rolls. Is this a bit of, you know, bitterness in there?
Everyone seems to be bashing...
They are bashing
PSG because of... I know they lost to Strasbourg at the weekend, and then they lost again in the Champions League. They topped the group. Everyone seems to be... Well, not everyone, that's wrong. A lot of people jumping on, including our show. Dan Thomas last night was like, oh, what's happening with PSG?
Should we be worried?
It's a bloody game, for God's sake, you know what I mean? They could go there, as long as they avoid losing by 4 goals, they top the group. If they lose by 4 goals, which was unlikely, by the way, they go into second place, and hey, that's probably not a bad thing either when you see how the groups are panning out. So I don't think come the knockout stages or the quarters or whatever it is, anyone will bat an eyelid about what happened in the last group game for PSG. Because when those players got off the plane in Munich from France, they knew that kind of job was almost done.
Yeah. And
so it's kind of difficult to get yourself up. So Thomas Muller and the rest, I understand, maybe there's a little bit of jealousy around for some because, and I'm not suggesting Muller's jealous, but I'm just saying everybody's talking about PSG. And the proof will be in the pudding, right? The proof will be, if they go out to Man City or Real Madrid in the quarters of the semis, it's not because of what happened in Munich and match day, whatever it was, 6. It's because on that particular day they've not been good enough. That's when we'll judge them, not after some nonsense last game where people, oh, that was a great game. Oh, wasn't that exciting with Bayern? What? Did you see who finished top? Spare me. Honestly, I was like, I don't see the big deal with them losing in this game when the job was already done, including a 3-0 victory against Bayern Munich in Paris when Ancelotti was still manager.
Still the top team for you.
The players will be more focused when it gets to the crunch. I'm not saying that's going to be enough, but it certainly has no bearing will have no bearing on what happened in Munich last night. Absolutely none.
So a bit of jealousy from Thomas Muller? Possibly, but in the meantime, we're believing the hype, and PSG have nothing to worry about right now. Craig Burley joined me ready to tackle this edition of Transfer Rata. He's going to tell me whether he thinks they could be hits or misses. Let's start off with Jordi Alba at Barcelona. Would Spurs be a hit or a miss for him?
Well, he's playing at Barcelona. He scored a great goal against Valencia from that little pass from Messi. Why would he leave Barcelona to go to Tottenham? Champions League winners, La Liga winners, potential Champions League winners again this year. See what happens. To go to a team who are not in the title race in England, have got 2 left backs in Rose and Davis.
Rose could leave to Man United.
Well, Rose is going to leave. So although they might go for another left back, Tottenham, I don't think that one's going to happen.
Van Aanholt at Crystal Palace. Would Everton be a good move for him?
Well, I think this is something that could happen primarily because Allardyce has worked with him at Crystal Palace, and only for that reason am I going to say this potentially could happen. I presume that's why it's up there. But I've no idea into the thinking of whether Allardyce will bring him in, but he has worked with the player, so that could happen.
One that could possibly break my heart, because I do love me some Juan Mata, to leave Manchester United. Would that be a good move all around?
Well, I mean, are we talking to leave here in January or leave in the summer, or just, I mean, what?
In the next two transfer
5 years' time, or what? I mean, where's the end of this?
In the near future, so January or summer.
I mean, it could happen. He played in the Champions League last night. He had a lovely little pass for Rashford over the top. He hasn't played regular, but Mkhitaryan hasn't played particularly well. He certainly won't be leaving in January, but I think he will potentially leave in the summer.
All right, Sandro.
Not in January.
Sandro from Juventus, would a move to Chelsea suit him?
Well, the move to Chelsea might suit him, and they reportedly bid around 60 million from last year. He seems to be not flavour of the month at Juventus. The problem here is like, you know, you're really diving into a haystack. There's no Michael Emenalo at Chelsea, the director of football. He's now at Monaco, and everybody's talking about Antonio Conte is going to leave in the summer.
Yeah.
So, you know, and he's not going to go in January because both clubs are in the Champions League knockout stages, and so therefore this transfer, if it does happen, can only happen in the summer, and we don't even know who's going to be in charge at Chelsea. So for that reason, I'm going to have to say no.
And finally, this one's been floating around of recent times, of course, because Raheem Sterling has been scoring left, right and centre for Man City to Real Madrid. Craig believes that is a huge miss. Why?
He's playing well.
Is he not up to the Madrid standard?
He's playing well. But if they're going after people, they're going after De Bruyne, they're going after Eden Hazard, they're going after people like that, not Raheem Sterling. As good as he's been for City, there are better players out there in that position.
All right, thanks so much to Craig Burley. Continue tracking all of these rumours here at